Good morning, everyone. So, the genre that we are going to discuss today is historical fiction. So, what is historical fiction? Historical fiction is one of those subgenres of literature that takes many forms. Its most important feature, though, is that it is set in the past, with every element of the story conforming to the norms of the day. Historical fiction is a story that takes readers to a time and place. In the past, the details and the action in the story can be a mix of actual events and ones from the author's imagination as they fill in the gaps. Characters can be pure fiction or based on real people, often it is both. But everything about them, their attitudes and look, the way they speak, and problems they face should match the era. So there are five common elements of historical fiction. First is the setting. The setting is the most important part of historical fiction novel. It should take place during an authentic period in history and be set in a real historical place. For example, New York City during the Great Depression or Paris, France during World War II. Second element is the plot. The plot in historical fiction novel is a combination of real events and fictional events. You can invent characters, cities, and events, but they still must make sense to the time period. For example, a novel set in London, England in 1666 would benefit from incorporating the Great Fire of London, a major turning point in the city's history. Third, the characters. Characters can be real, fictional, or both, but they should all look, speak, and act in ways that accurately reflect the era. For example, if you are writing a book about Mary Tudor, it shouldn't disregard or reinvent her family history as the daughter of Henry VIII and sister to Elizabeth I, who both played an important role in Mary's reign. Fourth element is the dialogue. The dialogue must be authentic to the time period and should reflect the status of the characters who are speaking. For example, British soldiers in the Revolutionary War wouldn't use Western slang of today. Fifth and the last common element of historical fiction is the conflict. Conflict, the problems the characters encounter should be conflicts people of that era would encounter. For example, your book might describe the hesitation and fear of a German soldier feels as he is to the Eastern Front where he knows he is likely to die. One of the examples of historical fiction is the work of Elizabeth Wynne, which is entitled Codename Verity. This historical fiction novel was particularly interesting because it focused entirely around two strong females and the bond they share with one another without the slightest hint of any romance with a male figure. World War II novels also typically have male protagonists, especially when the characters are in the military. Maddie was even a pilot, which was a rare role for a female back then. The dominant theme of the novel is to fight for survival. The grade levels that would be hooked with interest in this story is from grades 9 to 12. The characters and theme of this novel definitely fit under the historical fiction genre. This historical fiction genre is typically one of the least popular among young adults. This novel's excitement and suspense, however, is sure to keep the reader's interest.